you have some insider information that okay, in the next 5 years, this is not going to exist. My role is not going to exist. In the next year, my role is not going to exist. I better act now. And I think that's what made me sort of switch something in my brain where I was just like, I need to be 10 steps ahead as well. I can't be waiting for, let's wait and see how next. No. You have to be 10 steps ahead to be able to know, there's something coming around the corner. Let me pivot and position myself to be able to take the hit if it's a hit.
You got to end up on the right side of history. You have to make sure that you're on the right side of history. And ideally just remember to adapt. And what you don't know, remember to keep learning. Just because you're afraid doesn't mean you can't learn. Sometimes we let fear paralyze us, that you're so afraid of something that you never learn it. But I think, let's keep learning. Let's keep picking the things. Use fear as a way to be able to measure how much you don't know. Hi, my name is Bildina Kasema. I'm Bildina Kasema on all socials. And today I have my co-host, the wonderful...
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ages and Stages podcast. My name is Dee. I am Things Dee Says on the socials.
And the Ages and Stages podcast is where we discuss the intersection between formal education and what we've learned from the school of life. The school of life. And what are we talking about today, Dee?
Like what the school of life keeps teaching us, whether we like it or not, is the changing climate of employment. We were talking about this offline and we were just like, we need to talk about this because I think it's affecting a lot more people than we might realize.
That's true.
And this conversation came up about... the media landscape, especially in Kenya. It's worldwide, but, especially in Kenya, the media landscape, how the media industry is changing so much. A lot of redundancies. There's a lot of people losing their jobs. And we were just like, let's talk about this. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. Because we're kind of at that stage in life where we're looking at, okay, what is it that I do? What is it that brings in an income? Is it sustainable? Is there longevity? If not, what can I do about it? So, so we wanted to talk about like the changing climate of employment, how people are feeling, how people are like how the markets are reacting and things like that. So,
and with I think new technology right now, we're talking AI. It's AI everywhere. Everyone's talking Chat GPT. We're like, and if you don't adjust and if you don't change, someone told me change is the only constant in this life. And I'm like, oh my God, how can change be the only constant? Like,
change is only
if
constant.
You keep expecting change, then you'd be able to continuously learn, then you'd be able to adjust and be able to adapt. But
for you, what would you say? Because I remember, I used to work in the media industry. I represented people in the media industry in Australia, and I knew even back then when I started my job around 2016, already there was so much insecurity about the media because some certain roles start to become redundant as time goes by. Some certain roles can be done by two people. A job that was done by two people is now shrunk and is done by one person. Or you'd find job share where you and I do the same job. You do Monday to Wednesday. I do Thursday to Friday. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know that.
So there's been, over the years, almost a need to cut back. And I just remember thinking, because my dream always was to be in the media. So I look at these things now and I'm just like, whoa.
The revolution.
Whoa, where would I be? Yes. Where would I be if I was in this industry? How do you feel about the changing climate of employment, especially in Kenya?
I've always been very interested in change, only because I've learned that if you don't adapt, you end up on the wrong side of history. So it's really, really important to adapt. However, technology keeps changing. Let me tell you, the things we have to continuously adapt to. Take something as simple as social media. We just figured out, and as we're doing this podcast, we just figured out how to use Instagram, just figured out how to use TikTok, still figuring it out. Please follow us, Ages and Stages podcast.
Still not figuring it out. Yes. TikTok is a stressful app.
And then, just when we think we've learned at the YouTube, now Threads shows up. We're like, every day something new, something changes. How do we adapt? How do we take it on?
I still find myself one of those people who's stressed by all these changes. I really do. I really, really do, because like even social media, even just Instagram or Facebook, the amount of changes that in the Instagram app on its own. Now, the introduction of Reels, now, they're competing with TikTok. Now you have to do more video content than, still photographs. Now you have to realize how to match your content with this song. The beat has to align with what I'm just like. I'm tired. I am tired. But the thing I'm also realizing is, even as we curate content for our page, is I'm just like, okay, I really have to get over this mental hump and get to the other side of it, because the times are moving whether I like it or not. They're moving whether I conform or not. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, the people who are not on social media, how do y'all live? How do y'all already, I'm on social media and I feel so out of touch, especially with pop culture. Like, I'll find out things 2 weeks after they've happened, and I'm just like, I'm like, you should see me going to my partner, and I'm like, babe,
this happened.
And he's like, that was 2 years ago, or that was, do you how many? And I'm just like, okay, listen.
And it's changing times in all aspects of careers. It's changing times in different apps. I've seen changes on Microsoft Teams, the ways you can be able to use Microsoft now. Things are changing in every sector that you're touching. And the question is, how do you get over that feeling? D, how do you get, I've heard you on saying that you've realized that you have to get over the hump. But does doing it enough, does doing it continuously change that, getting you over the hump? What are you doing to get over this hump?
I mean, for me, I'm trying to slowly immerse myself in it. So, and for me, again, it's also the sacrifice of time. For me to be able to grow our audience and things like that, and for you to be able to do the same, you have to do regular posting. You just have to. That's how the algorithm works. The algorithm is designed to reward consistency, and the more consistent you are, the more growth you see, right? The other side of that sword is that the more consistent you are, the more time you're spending on your phone. And I absolutely have a love-hate relationship with spending time on my phone, because I'm just like engrossed in something that feels like it's not real, like there's an unseen audience, right? And it sometimes feels like, should I spend time with my son, or should I post on social media? Do you know what I mean? Should I pay attention to this person in front of me, or I need to do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many times where I catch myself on my phone and I'm just like, nah, let me put it aside, and I know I should be posting. So, and it's not everything you can outsource. I can't outsource my thoughts.
Yes,
there's some things that only I think about, and I'm just like, oh, okay, let me put this on Threads, because Threads is now the new what? Twitter. So you want to put something that is authentic to you. I can't call someone and say, these are my thoughts right now, can you put them into
put it down.
That's my personal struggle. How do you deal with
you've said a mouthful there,
the whatever.
Yes, in terms of the changing climate, the first thing is learning to adapt. And for me, the biggest thing about adapting has to be that you have to you have to do until you learn. It's like the first time you go to the gym, something is hard, like you go and you're wondering, why did I do this? Who said I should come? And I find myself sometimes even negotiating with my instructor. Even now, I'm like, maybe we do 30 minutes, not an hour. But then when I'm done, I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And if I continue to do it, I'm hoping one of these days I will begin to love it.
Yeah.
And I think this is where it grows, that where change is inevitable, then we must adapt. We must learn.
So how do you adapt?
I think adapting begins with things that you don't know. Half the time it's the fear. And I find that when people are afraid, usually they don't know stuff. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're going through.
No, I mean you
What
personally.
the information, yes. And myself, when I'm scared of something, I use fear as a measure. And I use fear as a measure this way. If I'm afraid of something, the question is, what do I not know about it?
Okay.
So I always ask myself, if I'm afraid of writing a paper, if I'm afraid of some work, I ask myself, what information do I need to feel secure? And then where can I find this information? And this is now what establishes the comfort to be able to adapt to something and to be able to grow in that area.
And then the other thing I find is like a complete mind F is the disparity between, you see, we're exposed to a lot of technology because of our privilege, because of, we're in the middle class and whatever. And I think of even my days in uni, and I think, oh my God, if Chat GPT existed when I was in uni, what assignment would I do myself? You just go in there and you put the parameters of your assignment, and Chat GPT produces a paper for you. Maybe I'd have to edit it and make sure that the wording is correct
They
and
have an
whatever.
app for that.
And there's a, do you know what I mean? And so I think of someone who doesn't have a laptop right now, right? And we're in an age of instant news, instant gratification, instant swipe left, swipe right for dating, things like that. And I'm just like, okay, people who don't have access to this technology, what world are they living in? Sometimes I envy it, because I'm just like, you live in a bubble that is still untouched by technology. But how long can you
exist?
actually thrive in this bubble when the whole world is moving and shifting this way? Yeah.
And that reminds me of the era when computers came. We saw, I was talking to my dad the other day, he's like, we went on riot to fight against the computers. I'm like, you went on riot? Like, can you imagine?
Jobs.
Mandamano because of computers being introduced to the workplace. But I ask you now, which workplace does not have a computer?
Do you know what I mean?
Or a system.
And those manual systems that were there now, and it's something I even find frustrating myself in Kenya, where if I go somewhere and they have to look for a physical file, I'm like, oh, we're so backward.
Like,
wow. It's technology is advanced, like it's coming whether we like it or not. And
ideally, when you understand it, it's meant to make life easier. But then by the time you understand it, the understanding process, the time it takes, this is where it takes some time. And then there's the other side of it. Like you look at AI just in general, in the way it's coming into every sector that we touch right now. In education, we're talking about students consistently now having their papers written on Chat GPT and everything, and having AIs that are able to make it look human or feel human.
And the more you use it, the more it knows how to now generate content that is curated for you.
And quite interesting looking at AI specifically in different areas. Look at it in media. A job that would have been done with how many people? Now, if someone is writing a script, all they have to do is just give instruction and everything. So where do we go? How do we change? How do we adapt? And how does someone secure the job? Because it's something we're consistently thinking. How do I secure my job? Especially in an era where this AI could write me off, could make sure that I do not have a job, ideally. So how do I secure this? How do I make sure this works? How do I make sure this is actually intensive and works in my favor? Someone was telling me the other day, sidebar just a little bit, about prompt engineers. And I said, what is a prompt engineer? They told me this is the person that feeds the instructions to the AI to be able to give information back. And the feeding of the instructions is a job there, because this is something that people don't understand. I said, oh. So I asked them, so what else can people do? They said, oh, if you're the kind of person who runs a social media company that you market for people, or you're employed in there, one of the things that you could do, because people will still be a little afraid of AI, especially in Kenya, that could play to your advantage in terms of the information, in terms of what you could be able to do. You could start your own company and use AI to produce graphics faster. Use AI to be able to produce scripts faster. Use AI to be able to produce this content a little bit faster. Use AI that would be able to build on you and be able to work for you. So if you look at it from the other side of it, he's generally Gen Z. So I realized, I like the way he's looking at the prospects of this. So how do you think, Dee? How do you feel?
I mean, I still feel very scared by it. I was listening to a podcast by the Wall Street Journal, and I sent it to you.
Yes,
about some Kenyan workers who were actually hired to work on Chat GPT, but they had no idea that's what they were working on. They knew they were working in something to do with tech, but the job ended up being that they have to filter out explicit content in order for the AI to know what to filter out when people are searching for things. And so they were coming across extremely graphic content to do with, abuse and things like that, and being paid peanuts, being exposed to extremely triggering, traumatizing content, and there's no support
in terms of
in order for you to deal with the aftermath of consuming this this kind of content. It's vicarious trauma, right? Even like as a lawyer, for instance, if you're doing criminal law, I think any kind of law actually, you experience vicarious trauma, meaning if you're my client and you've come to me with an issue that's extremely traumatizing, I internalize that whether I know it or not.
That's true.
If I don't have a supportive environment either counseling provided by my employer or something like that, in order for me to be able to release what I've internalized. What happens? I keep holding it in. And so what was tragic for me in that instance was, what was triumphant, number one, was the fact that Kenya is now like a tech hub, right?
It's considered a tech hub.
Yeah, it's recognized as a tech hub worldwide, right? And this was an American employer. So you can see, you know, we're moving with the times. But what was extremely tragic for me was hearing a story of a worker who lost his family because of how much trauma he internalized from this explicit content that he had to edit every day. So you and I are enjoying AI that somebody else has had a hand in making safe for us, for our kids.
That's
but
true.
He's lost his family out of it, and nobody's helping him. Nobody's coming to I guess compensate him for that kind of. How do you even compensate that loss?
And
do you know what I
they
mean?
didn't even make that much. Remember when they
Yeah,
were talking
they were-
about how much
yeah.
they were making?
They're
It was
making
coming
peanuts.
to about a maximum of about $800
Yeah,
a month.
a
Which for the trauma they're experiencing was crazy.
It's insane.
But however, now someone termed Kenya as the Silicon Sub-Sahara. Someone said something like that. I was like, oof, we are growing. However, we're also finding instances where people from out there are taking advantage of our people who can speak in English, because that's usually one of the major qualifications, can read, very well educated. And then because of the job market and the lack of jobs, or the scarcity of jobs within Kenya, as Kenyans will take up jobs that we feel are easy, however, can end up being really, really damaging, and very, very important to be able to assess that and check that and be able to check yourself. So in terms of this AI, ChatGPT to be specific, these guys didn't even know they were working on it.
They didn't know. They ended up finding out way after.
Because this guy's,
you know,
like,
the fact.
subcontracted that thing. And I think they subcontracted so it could never be tracked.
Yeah,
they
didn't want
realized
to.
this was not something.
Whoever was subcontracting
Yes.
was the one, like, meaning the legal responsibility,
Yeah,
like they're
releasing
lessening
it.
their responsibility. And that's, you know, the other thing that really impressed me with those workers is they ended up forming a union, you know. They ended up forming a union and actually now advocating for rights for people who work in this industry, which is extremely necessary. My God, I don't know how many times I can emphasize this. It's something I'm so passionate about personally. Is about collective strength. And because, you know, again, they were saying in that podcast, and we'll put the link in the description box in the YouTube, in our YouTube and in our podcast platforms. But like they were saying, you know, it's easy for us to go as a group and say, yo, this is not right what we're experiencing. But one person you'll be trampled on. But when you go as a group, you have more chances of success. So I think we're getting to the stage where you have to reposition yourself and put yourself out in the world as a brand, because there's no other there's no other Beldina.
True.
You know?
Very true.
So even AI is not in my mind. It's not. It doesn't think like me.
No.
I can program it. I can program a machine to generate content that is like me, but there's nobody else like me. And so I think we're moving to the stage where you have to position yourself as a brand in whatever you're doing, because we're just at a stage where technology is taking over, and that's what the future is looking like.
We must make sure that it's working for us very, very well, making sure that it's technology that is playing to our favor, is playing towards what we really, really need it to be able to do. I think it was you who was mentioning that someone like Anthony Robbins that you listened to the other day mentioned something about using it to, what was he doing with it? AI.
Ages. I think this was in 2020 actually. When you see now he had to change his in-person events to virtual, and he was talking about how he's already started banking content for when he's gone, for when he's no longer alive. And I was like, hang on, what? So he's already started using AI with his likeness to where, you know, now in 2020 conferences, things like that were being held online. So if you can have AI that has your likeness, your image, because people do that. There's holograms. I saw the other day, was it Drake who had a hologram of himself on stage, his younger self on stage? Like, it's just insane. It's mind-blowing to me how you can create a likeness of yourself that can speak like you, sound like you. Do you know what I mean? And so he was saying how he's already started creating content for when he's no longer here. And I was just like, I remember thinking, what on earth? Like, this is 2020.
Yes.
So these things have been there.
Let me
When
tell
2023, this is 3 years after.
Do you know when?
And now we're just now typing in ChatGPT. Kumbe, someone has an archive of videos for when they're dead. Do you know what I mean?
I'm telling you.
And then another person told me that they went onto OpenAI to talk to a therapist. So this is an artificial intelligence therapist, and they asked the therapist, hi, how you doing? Do you remember what we were talking about yesterday? And the therapist said something like, something completely unrelated to what they were talking about, and she was just like, oh my goodness, like, I didn't talk to you about this. In fact, I don't even engage in that kind of thing. So that's the part where it scares me, because that human interaction and connection is under threat. Like, it's a good thing for the advancement, obviously, of yourself, of business, of things but it's a scary thing for me when I think of human connection and how already it's changed so much. I remember back in the day when I was young, I came from I'm at the age where probably my first 15, 16 years of life, there was no mobile phones. We used dial-up internet, and this is probably now much later in my teens. We didn't have social media. We didn't have these apps. So you interacted with people in person, or you wrote letters and you waited until someone wrote you back. And then now we moved into the age of mobile phones, and now you can talk to people over a longer span of distance on the mobile phone. Yeah, but I just think I miss that aspect of human interaction, because as the years go by, slowly, all our interactions are becoming more virtual. And for me, there's a connecting part of it that I'm missing. And I think that's why, even on a personal level, I don't enjoy talking on the phone that much. I enjoy
face-to-face,
person-to-person interactions. Like, I want to talk to you, see your emotions, hear the tone of your voice in real time, like in person. That's how I'm feeling about it. I'm just feeling I'm nervous, but I need it. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. And I think that will forever remain the challenge, and perhaps that's where we remain as humans more superior to any machine that ever comes through. That will always be looking for connection, and because the machines have not figured out this connection bit of it, then that remains your superpower and what sets you apart completely. And ideally, at the end of the day, it's about not only adapting, but then eventually to figure out how to monetize anything that you pick up from here. How can you be able to build on it? And these are questions. We're not saying we know everything. We're just saying that we have to begin to ask ourselves. We have to begin to ask, so how do I monetize what I've just picked up, what I've just learned? How am I able to build this? I was talking to someone the other day who is looking to set up what is this? An airport, an airstrip in an interesting area, commercial area. And it's quite interesting. So I was talking to him and I was asking...
How very adult.
Yes. And I was asking him how he got funding for something like that. In my head, it's still very profound and exciting when people talk about things they're able to do and what they're doing. And he mentioned that when he was coming up with his marketing plan, he used a lot of AI. And in the information that he was able to pick up, this AI is able to pick information from everywhere around the world and be able to make it very relevant to what you're looking for if you ask it the right questions.
And feed in the right parameters.
You have to feed it in the right kind of thing for you to be able to get the information. So I was asking, so he said, I use a lot of AI. I've a lot of my systems and things I've developed it's made it easier for me to start and develop and grow a business. And I said, never really looked at it that way, that he's found a way to monetize this system. And then ideally, he's looking to scale it now. So these are words that we must consistently look at and wonder, how can we be able to not only adapt? How can we make sure that we're able to monetize? Because we might find people continuously losing their jobs because these machines that can do it and do it much better, gather information from everywhere else. But then better yet, how can you scale it? How can you make it bigger? How can you make it work for you? And as humans, if we created the machines, then we must be definitely better than the machines. Here's to hoping.
I mean, and the even the conversation I was talking about that we had that like rocked me was when I read that Caroline Motoko had voluntarily left the job. So I'm assuming she took a voluntary redundancy. I think that's when it really hit me that even with that kind of longevity, I heard someone like Mainaka Geni saying this is the year he's retiring. I don't think these things are coincidental. It's not. I don't think it's coincidental. I think it reaches, number one, if you've been in a career for very many years, then of course you get to a certain place where the ceiling has been hit and the excitement is dulled, is muted, right? But also there's also, I don't think it's a coincidence that you see these kinds of changes around the same time, because I felt like, people who take voluntary redundancies, number one, coming from an employment law background, they have some insider information.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
you
is
have
so
some
true.
insider information that okay, in the next 5 years, this is not going to exist. My
True.
role is not going to exist. In the next
True.
year, my role is not going to exist.
So
I
true.
better act now.
Oh my
and I
God.
think that's what made me sort of switch something in my brain where I was just like, I need to be 10 steps ahead as well. I can't be waiting for, let's wait and see how next. No. You have to be 10 steps ahead to be able to know, there's something coming around the corner. Let me pivot and position myself to be able to take the hit if it's a hit.
And you say something very, very important that you just touched on something, that companies that were placed ahead of time. Remember COVID time?
Yeah.
Until COVID time, people weren't using Zoom as much. They'd use it, but not as much.
Not as much.
They weren't using Teams as much. I think.
Did Teams even exist?
No, I think it was developed around that time.
Yeah.
They weren't using Google. What was that called?
Wait, Teams is Google.
No, Teams is Microsoft.
Oh, Teams is Microsoft. Google was
Google
Meet.
Connect, Google Meet.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
They weren't using that much, but then because of placement, it's like this guy's new.
Yeah.
There was something
Yeah.
there, because the minute COVID
Like
hit,
this, you have now
something
options.
took a different shape. The business that actually prospered at a time where a lot of the world did not prosper.
Yeah.
People who acted at the beginning of COVID and worked towards making sure they were reducing their staff, or possibly paying a little less, and moving from the office setup and working from home. People who adapted to the systems and what they could use and what they could be able to do flourished. The people who waited too long ended up not doing too well. Later on ended up closing and being sued. I know of companies that were sued because of rent that they were unable to pay during COVID time. What this tells you is that we must always adapt. We must remain adaptive. We must remain keen to learn, in as much as it's hard. But I keep saying, for most of us, at least if you're in a career and you're earning something, part of me tells me that, especially if you have a passion for it, it's you have to choose your heart. Not doing it is hard.
And like
Doing it is
now,
hard,
especially with I'm seeing a surge in the interest in studying machine learning and AI. I don't know if you're seeing that with your
Yes, I am.
institution, but for me, definitely, I'm seeing a lot more students coming and interested in machine learning and AI. And I remember thinking, my God, I'm meeting like a 16-year-old girl who's telling me, I have my own business. Now I want to, go and study abroad and enhance my skills. I'm just like, this is so impressive, but also, what on earth is going on? What is going on? The machines are talking. What is going on?
You got to end up on the right side of history. You have to make sure that you're on the right side of history. And ideally, just remember to adapt. And what you don't know, remember to keep learning. Just because you're afraid doesn't mean you can't learn. Sometimes we let fear paralyze us, that you're so afraid of something that you never learn it. But I think, let's keep learning. Let's keep picking the things. Use fear as a way to be able to measure how much you don't know, and then be able to learn continuously again and again and again until you can figure it out. And here's the thing about the human brain, that if you keep going again and again and again, eventually you do figure it out. Yes, you do.
I mean, I'm still scared by it, y'all. I'm still scared, and I want to know in the comments, does anybody else feel like I do? I'm just terrified by it most of the time. I want to go back to writing letters and
you're an old soul.
I really do. I remember I used to write on the envelope, sealed by a lick because a kiss won't stick.
Hey, one more time. Sealed by a lick. Because a kiss won't do what?
Stick.
Hey.
So I want to go back. Like those are the things that make me feel warm inside. Technology doesn't make me feel.
Which school was this?
This was boarding school. Boarding school.
Letters.
Did you
like
never
this?
write a letter?
Me, as in the proper school where I'd have written letters. I was still in Form 1, so I didn't know boys as much.
So you didn't write letters?
No,
you didn't receive letters?
No.
You missed the whole stage of life.
I missed it, man.
Let me tell you, that anticipation of letters, and we had a specific day where letters were announced. Like if you've gotten a letter, it's being announced on a specific day.
I think that's a little selfish.
It was bad if you didn't get a letter because
really,
obviously
really
your name's not going to be called out. But it was also like if your name is called out, it's like, oh, umemulikwa. But yeah, I missed that kind of interaction way more than I I don't enjoy technological interactions much. I really don't. That's just who I am as a person. So I'm curious to know if a lot of people feel like that, because I just feel so many times I feel so behind.
So left
and
behind.
I'm just like, am I interested in catching up? Am I?
I think we in terms of career, we have to be.
Yeah.
Because we have to adjust and
Yeah.
move with the times. But then with other things, it's negotiable.
Yeah.
You can choose to, you can choose not to.
Yeah.
But then there's also the other side of it. What happens when your kid is grown and
That's
you're
the
looking
thing.
for a point
And
for connection?
Not even that.
Uh-huh.
Will I understand the things the kind of technology that will
loves.
be there
Yeah.
when he's probably my age?
And how to, one, control it.
Yeah.
Because kids are kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to be able to manage
Yeah.
it. And how to be able
Keep
to
my child safe.
Yes. And
Yeah.
also better yet, how to be able to help them be able to build on this and
Yeah.
be able to build on it for themselves and what they're able to do.
Yeah.
But
So you see, there's people pursuing this informal education. Us, we're learning through the school of life.
yeah, we're learning through the
Yeah.
school of life. This
Yeah.
AI, we are learning
Yeah.
through the school of life. And I think we want to know in the comments as well, just in case, what kind of jobs can someone do with AI? What should people be looking out for? How are you using AI?
Especially the ones we would never
never.
know, because obviously we know tech
Uh-huh.
AI goes. But is there something you've experienced that you're just like, I had no idea AI could do this for me?
I know.
Yeah.
And we'd love to know. We'd
Yeah.
really love to know, because you might help somebody.
Yeah.
You might be able to show. And if you're using AI, how are you using it? If you're not using it, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Are you thinking you might adapt to it? Are you thinking you might not really adapt to it? Are you thinking that, like Caroline, you might want to have a voluntary redundancy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us. Keep us posted. And this has been the Ages and Stages podcast. My name is Beldina Kasema on all socials. And I have with me the lovely Things Dice.
Says on all socials. Thank you for being here, guys. And
Thank you very much.
we'll see you next time. Will you know if it's us? Will you know if it's AI? Who knows?
Ooh la la. Thank you.
See ya.